My name is Joe Jackson. I was in the United States Air Force and I retired as a colonel. I decided to go into service to learn a profession. All my life I wanted to be an airplane mechanic, so I enlisted in the Army Air Corps in March of 1941. One day a friend of mine was supposed to fly as a flight engineer on a B-25, and he came to me and he said, "I don't feel well, would you take my flight?" And I said, "Sure." So during the flight, the right engine caught fire, and the pilot turned around and asked me what I wanted him to do for the fire, and I said, "Will you feather the engine?" When he did that, the fire went out, and so I got to thinking about it, and I said, well, you know, if that guy don't know what to do when you get an engine fire, I know what to do when you get an engine fire. So I'm just as smart as he is. I'm going to go to aviation cadet training. So that's what I did.
Lieutenant Colonel Joe M. Jackson officially became a pilot in April of 1943. He spent the rest of World War II as a gunnery instructor, then flew 107 missions as an F-84 fighter pilot during the Korean War. In 1968, at the age of 45, he volunteered to go to Vietnam, where he flew a C-123 light transport plane as a commander in the 311th Air Commando Squadron. On May 12, 1968, Lieutenant Colonel Jackson was engaged in a routine resupply mission near the demilitarized zone.
I wasn't scheduled for anything unusual that day. I was supposed to fly a normal routine cargo mission, but when I got to Chu Lai, I got a recall to return to Da Nang for a special mission. We were told that the Special Forces camp at Kham Duc was being overrun by a superior North Vietnamese force, and we were supposed to help with the evacuation of Kham Duc because it was being overrun. When we checked in with the Airborne Command Post, they told us to go down to the southwest of the field in orbit, and they would call us when they were ready for us because they had several airplanes in front of us. So we did. The first C-130 that went in had all four of its engines shot out while he was on the final approach. The second airplane took on a load of 200 persons, and right after takeoff they were shot down and all on board were lost. The third airplane landed, a few survivors got on board, then the transport came under heavy attack from all sides, and he took off and left 3 combat controllers on the ground. And he reported to the Airborne Command Post that he had picked up the last of the survivors. And the Airborne Command Post called the fighters and says, "Okay, fighters, you go in and destroy the camp so that whatever's there can't fall into the hands of the enemy." So they were going in to do that when the pilot called and said, no, he had just left 3-man combat control team off the airplane. By this time it's getting pretty dark and thunderclouds all over the place, and the weather was really deteriorating badly. The Airborne Command Post called and asked if there was anyone in the vicinity that could go in and take those guys out. And I was looking out the window, and I knew exactly where they were. So we called and said, "Roger, we're going in." And from 9,000 feet, I started a extremely steep landing approach. My airspeed was right at the maximum for that configuration. And the rate of descent had hit the limit on the instrument, so I don't know how fast we were going down. From 9,000 feet, I lost all of that altitude in a 270-degree turn. I rolled out on the final approach just about 1,000 feet from the end of the runway, and was able to touch down within the first 100 feet of the runway. So I was the luckiest guy in the world. I was able to stop that airplane exactly opposite the three guys that were in the ditch, and they started running out toward the airplane, and as they're getting on board, I'm looking back, and the co-pilot called out, "Oh my God, look at that!" And a 122 millimeter rocket had been fired directly toward the airplane, and it's skidded down the runway and broke in half and stopped right immediately in front of the nose wheel of the airplane. I mean, really, really close. It didn't go off. So, again, I was the luckiest guy in the world, I guess. Well, when the loadmaster called it, they're all on board, then I took off in the opposite direction. And as I was taking off, automatic weapons and small arms fire was directed in front of me from both sides of the runway. But we got off the ground safely, and really, you know, there were two miracles there that afternoon. One is that you were able to get in and get out safely, and the other one is there was not a single bullet hole in your airplane. When you receive the Medal of Honor, your life changes, and it changes dramatically. I have to represent the thousands of Americans who have served their country. You have to make them proud of what you have done and what they have done. And that's a tough job, tell me, I'll tell you. You can be anything you want to. It's a matter of your choice. And one of the things that was taught to me by my mother and the minister was that regardless, you always do the right thing. How can you tell what the right thing to do is? My philosophy is that of all the options that you have available, the one you most would not like to do, that's probably the right thing to do.